Hey guys, hope everything's going well. You guys know that drill. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, and comment down below. Follow me on Instagram at AIH_sports. Also follow me on my finance channel at AIH Finance. And also to those that are just finding me on YouTube, remember to subscribe, right? A lot of you watch it, but you don't subscribe. So just subscribe if you haven't already. Okay, so a few things. I apologize, I don't have my mic on me. Hopefully, for my videos in the coming days, I'll have my mic. Also, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do these videos every day. I've talked about this. Schedule is getting much more busier than I expected. So, that being said, I'm probably going to be doing less videos. If I had more time, I'd do a lot more. Anyways, I wanted to show you a card I got in the mail through eBay's, envelope, new envelope that they send. It's like $1 shipping. This dude was so cheap, he couldn't even send it to me in a freaking top loader, but I still like this Kyle Schwarber card. Looks to be a refractor card. I like it. It's really nice. Right? My theme about lefties. I don't know what grade this would be. Maybe an 8. Maybe a 9. I don't know. But still, I'm just collecting these Schwarber cards, and I'll collect some other lefties in the coming weeks and months ahead, and also in the next year. And now, that being said, I wanted to do a video, and it's a video response to Jeremy at Sports Card Live. He was interviewing the guys from Card Ladder, and the one of the guys from Card Ladder made a point about economics, and he was talking about the Austrian business school, which is a type of economics, or it's a type of thinking, right? There's three types of thinking: monetarist, Keynesian, and the Austrian school, which no one really talks about. I talked about how I used the Austrian school in determining that this whole house of cards, house of sports cards, whatever you want to call it, was in an extreme bubble over a year ago. I did videos. This was not Monday morning quarterbacking and all that stuff. But he was talking about the need for a great reset of the hobby. And for this great reset, people need to learn about the Austrian school. So, that being said, this is more of an economics video and also a response to that Sports Card Live interview. It's, I think, a 6-minute clip. And also, a content creator sent me that video the other day, but I do want to chime in on it. Okay, so first of all, when I hear the term the Great Reset, or there needs to be a Great Reset, I'm very cautious and very skeptical when I hear that term. And the reason is there is this term floating around, the Great Reset, right? Over the last few years, ever since we've had that pandemic. And there's a bunch of crazy people out in Europe at the World Economic Forum, and they always talk about this Great Reset. If you actually hear the things they say, it's quite nuts. There's this one guy on YouTube that has analyzed what they've stated, and he did a video just today. And he had it, I think, in his title WEF. That was the acronym for World Economic Forum. His name is George Gammon, and he talks about economic issues too, but he has studied these guys. I mean, these guys talk about, how you're going to be happy with not too many things in the coming years. And these guys at the WEF are also predicting some economic turmoil somewhere between 2023 and 2025. Okay. So, putting that all aside, okay, that's just a number one red flag. Anyone talking about the great reset of the hobby or anything like that, I'm like, okay, let me just listen to this, but I'm already on edge. Not on edge. I'm just skeptical when I just hear that term. And now, regarding the Austrian school. And in that video, it was discussed that, hey, look, uh, the Austrian school, I think the individual being interviewed was talking about, hey, the Austrian school basically helped him, understand the sports card market, helped him make good money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And long story short, the Austrian school looks at inflation a lot differently than all of the other schools. They look at the Federal Reserve. They look at it actually intensely. So the printing of money is not good for the Austrians. And also, they try to find hedges for inflation. They look at collectibles. They look at commodities. They look at even Bitcoin, so on, so on, so on. But the other aspect of the Austrian school is they look at the business cycle. And I've talked about the business cycle as well. And there's booms and busts. And the Austrian school talks about, hey, and this is Hayek, right? He won a Nobel Prize when he was at the University of Chicago. If you keep interest rates too low for too long, this whole whole house of cards is going to pop, right? And they've talked about the crash of 29. It was because they believe it was the Federal Reserve. They kept interest rates too low for too long, and it popped. Now, other economists would say, hey, look, no, it's because of the gold standard, whatever, right? I'm just looking at what the Austrians say. If you look at the technology bubble, they even talk about that, right? Kept rates too low for too long. You brought in all this excess capital to tech, the bubble popped. You look at real estate, 2007, 2008, when it crashed, they're saying, hey, Greenspan kept rates too low for too long. And then when Bernanke took over the Federal Reserve, they had a lot of issues, okay? So they talk a lot about bubbles. And like I mentioned earlier in this video, the Austrian school also, I talked about the Austrian school and I said, hey, look, sports cards are going to crash, right? The Federal Reserve printed all this monopoly money, and because they printed all this monopoly money, it went into all of these assets, collectibles, etc. Crypto went into Bitcoin, went into sports cards and went to the stock market, etc., etc., etc. Now, sports cards have done pretty well, especially the higher end, and the reason is because they were severely undervalued for quite some time, in my opinion. So you had all this liquidity come into the market, funny money. We were locked up at home, no games, right? So people just started pouring money in. Even when the economy opened back up, some of the high-end cards went up. Now, a lot of the cards did crash, right? But now we are back to a normalized economy. And now the Federal Reserve is going to start to raise interest rates. And in my opinion, next few years, this whole economy is going to have a lot of issues. And I could look at it even from an Austrian perspective, right? Keep your rates too low for too long, bada bing, bada boom. Now, going back to that interview, the individual being interviewed was just talking about, hey, the whole hobby needs to learn about the Austrian school and why sports cards were such a great investment. And I believe I still believe the individual who is talking about this, he's still probably a huge proponent of sports cards. And even with some of these cards crashing down extremely hard. For instance, the Fleer 86 card has gone down significantly. I've looked at some Wilt Chamberlain cards. They have gone down significantly. I've talked about Derek Jeter cards. They have gone down significantly. Now, some people would say, like, hey, look, a Dr. J card, you could have bought it for $6,000 and look at it right now. It sells for over $120,000. Yeah, some of these cards with very low population size, and if you go to one of these auctions like PWCC where you get rich people, they'll be like, hey, let me throw money into it, okay? Yeah, you're going to get some auctions like that. You're going to get people throwing money into Marvel. But vast majority of cards since the top of last year has gone down significantly. Now, it seems that going back to that interview, the guy was saying that, hey, we need a great reset to educate people about the Austrian school and make people understand this type of school so it will help you better understand the sports card market, just like Josh did with the white paper that he wrote. And I've looked at sports cards. I've looked at the Austrian school as well. I used to read Rothbard. I've read some Mises. I've read Ron Paul. He was talking about Ron Paul, how he made it more mainstream. He wrote the book End the Fed. I read that too. And I've read all of this stuff. And what I've learned in the collectibles industry, and regardless whether it's gold, crypto, whether it's sports cards, what drives the vast majority of these prices substantially higher is when you have negative real interest rates. Now, the Austrian school may talk about negative real interest rates, but this is just a basic economic concept. So, long story short, you don't need to know too much about the Austrian school. You just need to know some basic economics. And just the basic economics is, okay, if you have negative interest rates, that's great. That's the time where sports cards are flourishing. Sports cards are flourishing now. They flourished in the 1970s when you had negative interest rates. And when you looked at from 87 to 1994, yeah, you were in a negative interest rate environment for some time. That helped with sports cards. And the minute you have positive interest rates where the inflation rate is less than the interest rate, and right now we have negative interest rates where the inflation rate is greater than the interest rate. But going back to a positive interest rate environment, when you have inflation less than the interest rates, guess what happens? The prices, they go down. While you may have some cards going up, the vast majority of them are going to, at best, stay constant or have a very small yield higher. And this notion that's pushed that, hey, look, sports cards are a superior investment. Look at what happened in the last few years. Well, look at what happened beforehand. I looked at data, I have it written down right now, that I talked about the other day. Sotheby from 1971 to 1984, 11.1% increase in collectibles. Solomon Brothers, 67 to 88, their metrics came up with close to 13% increase year over year. Okay? And I think that's an okay return as long as it's quality and it's real and it's in a high grade. But the returns that the industry is promoting now is not sustainable for the long run. You know, this flipping game, while some people may be successful at it, most people are not. And all I have to say is that it's just basic economics. I mean, it's great people learn about the Austrian business school, but just looking at that solely to try to figure out the collectibles market, I think people are going to be a bit surprised when they see the sports card market even take a dip more lower in the coming years. I mean, some high-end cards may do well, right? You exceed expectation, those cards will continue to flourish. But once again, this is now an expectations game. You do better than what the market is pricing in, then guess what? Those cards will probably go higher. Anyways, guys, I just wanted to give my own 2 cents about that. I know, I talked about more about economics here, but I do believe this is this is a topic that I've done a lot of research on. And I just wanted to give my own 2 cents about that. Anyways, guys, let me know what you think about this. Smash that like button, subscribe if you haven't, comment down below, guys. Thank you. Bye.